Hello everyone and welcome to my very first, is it Deck Tech or Tech Deck? I think it's Deck Tech. But this is my most powerful deck. It is blue and green, and the commander is Knossos, Priest of Thassa. What's amazing about this guy is you can get him out turn 1 since he is only 2 mana, 1 and a blue, and he gets his green from his ability, which is 3 and a blue or a green. But he is a legendary creature, Merfolk Cleric, 1/3. But the notable thing about this card is his text box, obviously. But with this deck, you don't really want a lot of card draw. You want to top deck. Alright! You want to top deck everything. Like, literally everything. Your only form of drawing are cantrips. So, first, let's read the card. If you would scry a number of cards, scry that many cards plus 1 instead. Pay 3 and a blue or a green. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent creature card, you may put it onto the battlefield. If you don't put the card onto the battlefield, you may put it on the bottom of your library. So there's a couple big key words here. So the first thing we want to look at is there's no tap symbol. You can activate this ability as many times as you want. And it is instant speed, because it's an activated ability. And it doesn't say to use it only on sorcery speed, it is instant. And it says you may put it onto the battlefield. So if you scry a creature that is an on-cast ability, you don't really want to cheat that out. So you can leave it on top and draw it and then play it. Cast it normally. And there is only one creature in here that is that way. Or no, 2, sorry. And again, another may. If you don't put the card onto the battlefield, you may put it on the bottom of your library. So this implies that you can keep it on top. So if you don't put it on the battlefield, it can either stay on top or put it on the bottom, much like scrying. So our big goal with this is to get him out as early as possible, get the mana, and be able to scry and put some sea creatures on top and just cheat them out super early and win. And this deck, I have not lost with it yet in my playgroup, and it's pretty fun. You get real big real fast. It has an engine in it that I will show you here real soon. But let's talk about the main factor here, scrying. So we have many cards like Brainstorm, Foresee, Preordain, Ponder, and Scroll Rack, and Dream Cache. Another card they do not have yet that I would love to put in here is Sensei's Divining Top. But these aren't really my scry cards. These are your drawing. These are your cantrips. These are draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So you draw 3, and then put 2 cards from your hand on top. So if you got stuck with sea creatures in your starting hand, you can use cards like this to put it back on top, and then use your commander's ability to instantly cheat them out, because you know they're on top. And Foresee, it's scry 4, then draw 2 cards for 4 mana, but with your commander, you are scrying 5 times and drawing 2 cards. So you scry, and out of those 5 cards, if you see any sea creatures, put them on top in any order you want, and then, or no, sorry, you don't want them on top because you want to cheat them out, because you draw right after you scry. So you want to put your non-legendaries, or not your non-sea creatures, you want to put your support cards, your lands, your mana, all that on top with this card, and then draw them, and then afterwards you activate your commander's ability because your sea creatures are right after. Then you want to scry 2, draw a card for Preordain, but instead it's actually scry 3, draw a card. And then the same thing with Ponder. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. You may shuffle and draw a card. With this, you don't want to shuffle. And yeah, stuff like that. You want all things like that. That is your main form of really drawing. And as far as our scrying goes, you want constant scry, not one-time scry. I mean, the cantrips are good, but they also make you draw, but these are constant scrying. With Sphinx of Foresight at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, but instead of with your commander, it's scry 2. It also says you may reveal this from your opening hand. If you do, scry 3 at the beginning of your first upkeep, which is huge, because you could really set the pace for the beginning of the game and hopefully scry a good couple mana rocks or some lands you need and keep them on top, or whatever, you know? We have Impede Momentum. It's tap target creature and put 3 stun counters on it for 1 and a blue. That's not what we're looking at, though. It's helpful, but we mostly want the scry 1, which is actually scry 2. And Crystal Ball is the huge one here. It's 3 mana, yes, but it's pay 1, tap it, and scry 2. So you can just, anytime. But really, it's scry 3. I mean, it's scrying 3 for 1 mana, 100% worth it. We have Temporal Anchor, which I think is one of the better ones here. Beginning of your upkeep, scry 2, which is actually scry 3. Whenever you choose to put 1 or more cards on the bottom of your library while scrying, exile that many cards from the bottom of your library. During your turn, you may play cards exiled with the Temporal Anchor. So, say you're scrying, and there's some cards on top that you don't want. So you put them on the bottom, they get exiled into, say, like a second hand. That second hand, that second, like, exile pile, you get to play from. So it is essentially a second hand. So really, it kind of turns scry into draw, which is super good. So any cards you don't want, you still get them, and you keep the cards you want to cheat out, like the sea creatures, on top. Then we have Elvish Mariner. Whenever she attacks, scry 1. Whenever you scry, tap up to X, target non-land permanents, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. This is huge, because we have all these cards that are scrying. We have scry 3, we have at the beginning of your upkeep, we're scrying like 5 if we have them all out, if not more. And we're going to be tapping all our opponents, and we're going to leave them open for us free to attack them. At the beginning, this is an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, roll d4. Scry X, or X is the result. But the commander, you're scrying at least 2 if you roll a 1. So it's good. And whenever you roll a die's highest natural result, draw a card. So the d4, if you roll 4, you scry, and then you draw a card. So you get a little bit more card draw there if you get it. Thassa's Guide of the Sea. Indestructible enchantment unless you have the devotion. It's only 3 mana, and you're scrying 2 at the beginning of your upkeep. It's super good. So these are your main scry cards, and you're going to get at least 1 or 2 of them. I've gotten Crystal Ball every time for some reason. Now let's talk about the engine, right? So, Kenosis Priest of Thassa, let's say that you put 2 sea creature cards on top from scrying. Let's get Illusionist Bracers out there and put it on them. What does Illusionist Bracers do? Well, it doubles the activated ability, or it copies activated ability on the equipped creature. Kenosis' ability is activated. So instead of paying 4 and cheating out 1 sea creature, you're paying 4 and cheating out 2 sea creatures. Now, here's the other thing. We can make that even cheaper by using Biomancer's Familiar. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. Now, with those 2 together, you're paying only 2 mana to cheat out 2 sea creatures that could possibly be 7/7s or 12/12s even, that also have ETB effects. I mean, you're paying 2 mana for like 2 10/10s at the least. It's great. And then to even further that, we have Gauntlet of Power and Caged Sun. These two will double our mana, right? Or at least just one of them on there will double your mana. I mean, yeah, their other effects are good, but tapping a land to have it add an additional mana of that color is so good. They specifically state, as Gauntlet of Power enters the battlefield, choose a color. Creatures of the chosen color get +1/+1. Everything in here is mostly going to be blue. We have some green here, but that's mostly ramp. Whenever a basic land is tapped for mana of the chosen color, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of that color. Now, Caged Sun is, I believe, the same. It's worded differently, but I think it does the same thing. Let's reread it. When it enters, choose a color. Creatures you control of the chosen color get +1/+1. Whenever a land's ability causes you to add 1 or more mana of the chosen color, add 1 additional mana of that color. Okay, so Caged Sun is a little bit better, because it just says land. Not basic land, land. Gauntlet of Power says basic land. But Gauntlet of Power is also 5 mana, Caged Sun is 6. So, they're both good. Caged Sun, though, say you have a land that taps for a blue and a green. It gives you 2 mana when you tap it, which I do have one in here. It's going to give you 3 mana instead when you tap that land. It's going to give you the green and the 2 blue, if you chose blue. Now, if you have both of these out, well, it's going to tap for 4. But our main thing here is, if we have both of these out, say we tap an island, and we get 3 mana total from 1 island. Now, Biomancer's Familiar makes our cost of this guy 2. 2 mana. And then we're doubling the effect with Illusionist Bracers. So for 1 land tap, we can get out 2 10/10 big sea creatures, if not bigger. It's huge. It is massive, and it is game ending. Now, on our next topic, we have some creatures that aren't sea creatures, but should be in here anyway. Some cards that I think are kind of must-haves. Actually, one of these is an enchantment, but Quest for Ruleless Temple. It's 1 blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you may reveal it and put a quest counter on Quest for Ruleless Temple. You're scrying and putting creatures on the top all the time. You're gonna have a creature there, trust me. So it's gonna get those quest counters. At the beginning of each end step, if there are 3 or more quest counters on Quest for Ruleless Temple, you may put a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. So, you can specifically choose to draw a card, the sea creature you scryed to put on top, draw it, then at your end step, cheat it out for free instead of paying for your commander's ability. So that's just an extra free big sea creature you can get out. Now we have, this one's also 1 blue. This is a very cost-efficient deck. It has Splash, Defender, and Haste, 0/3. You can pay 1 in a blue, copy target spell you control that wasn't cast. You may choose new targets with a copy. That includes these sea creatures that we are cheating out. Say we get a sea creature out for super cheap with our shenanigans that are going on, and then we pay 2 to copy it? Please. Now, we have Thassa Deep Dwelling. This is kind of a personal favorite. At the beginning of your end step, exile up to one other target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. You blink a creature. And a lot of these secret creatures have massive enter the battlefield effects. Some that can even lock the game out if it keeps happening. And Realm Walker. What's big about this guy? First of all, 3 mana, cost efficient, again. He's a changeling. He's every creature type that includes sea creature. But he's only 3 mana, it don't matter. We can just cast him normally. But it says, as Realm Walker enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library any time. You may cast creature spells of the chosen type from your library. So anything that allows you to look at the top of your library anytime you want is extremely good. And that's really our only green creature in here besides Biomancer's Familiar. So you do want some green lands, but you don't want a whole bunch. Just enough to be able to... we do have a bunch of rant cards in here. Like we have Tempt with Discovery, we have Cultivate, I believe we have Kodama's Reach, we have Blessed Respite in here, just in case things get a little dicey and we need to prevent some combat damage. I think that's what it does. Yep. Yeah, there's it's a fun deck. Yeah, Simic Growth Chamber, that's the one that I was talking about that taps for 2, a blue and a green. Now, as far as the sea creatures go, we only have a couple that are below like 4 mana. We have Nadir Kraken, which is 3. He's good. Swordcoast Serpent, don't really like him too much, but we have Elder Deep Fiend, he's 8 mana. And this is one that we would want to cheat out. It does have an emerge cost, and it does say when you cast a spell, tap up to 4 target permanents. So it is have some on-cast abilities, but still, you're gonna cheat. You can cheat out a 5/6 for 2 to 4 mana. We have Timocratus, an 8/8 for 7. That again is going to be a lot less. We're going to pay a lot less than 7 for it. Now we have an 8/8. A 7/7, 8/8, and there's another thing to mention. All cephalids recently by Wizards of the Coast just got errated to be octopuses. So cephalids do count as a sea creature that you can cheat out. Benthic Anomaly, this is another on-cast one, but it's still 7/8 if you cheat it out. This one is a game ender. Stormtide Leviathan. This one states it has Island Walk. All lands are islands in addition to the other types, so everyone gets an island and he has Island Walk. And it also says creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. You're gonna mess up some big decks that are playing against you. Like, say you're playing against a big Eldrazi or Sliver deck, and they don't have Island Walk or flying. They're screwed. They're majorly screwed. And then you're just going to swing at them with all these 10/10s and 8/8s, and I'm showing you here. There's a 5/6, a 6/6, and a lot of these tap the opponent's creatures too. I'm not going to get into all of them because this video would just be way too long if I read every card. Moonkraken, he's a 6/8. This one's a 4/6, 6/6. Like, all these are so big. There's a 4/6. Simic Sky Swallower, 6/6, with Flying Trample and Shroud. Cephalid Face Taker, she becomes a copy of another target creature until end of turn. At the beginning of combat in your turn, so every combat you can have her become copies of other creatures. Except it's a 1/4, but you still kind of get their abilities, which is good. Spawning Kraken, one of my personal favorites. Check this out. Whenever a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent you control deals combat damage to a player, create a 9/9 blue Kraken creature token. Huge! We're going to be swinging left and right with all these big creatures, and then we're going to create 9/9s every time they connect, for each one that connects. I'm not even going to pronounce his name, but the Slumbering Isle. He's good. He's got some ramp to him. He's only 4 mana, so this one we can cast. This one's 5 for 9/9. Here's a 6/6. Here's one. Here's a little mana guy. You just tap, add a colorless and a blue, and spend it only to activate an ability, which is perfect. Now remember, with here's one of the really big lockout cards. Where is it? Where is she? There it is, Thassa. So, here's a demonstration. Thassa Deep Dwelling is out, right? Well, say that you bring out this guy, Kharadreht Leviathan. He says when he comes into play, return all other non-land permanents to their owner's hands. So he comes in, wipe the board. All non-lands get returned to their hands. So Thassa gets returned to your hand. Then you play her again. And then at the beginning of your end step, blink him again. And then keep doing it every turn, every turn, every turn. So he comes in. He wipes the board, right? And then he has Summoning Sickness, can't attack yet. Wait till your next turn, and then attack with him, swing for 5, he's a 5/5. And then you can cast Thassa again, blink him, return everything else, wait till your next turn, attack, and you rinse and repeat. You keep shuffling that. You keep doing that over and over again, and you're just going to keep hitting for 5, 5, 5 every turn come around. And that locks the game out heavily. And then here is another really big one. Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents you control can't be blocked except by Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents. It essentially makes all your other creatures unblockable unless enemies have these creature types or changelings, but who else is playing this deck, honestly? I haven't seen one other person play or build this deck. And we only have 2 board wipes. This is our last section. We only have 2 board wipes in here. We have Crush of Tentacles and Whelming Wave. So Whelming Wave returns all creatures to their owner's hands except for Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents. So it's a one-sided board wipe. And then feel free to go off and kill people. Now, this one, Crush of Tentacles, has a surge cost, which is actually cheaper than its original cost. Return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. If Crush of Tentacles' surge cost was paid, put an 8/8 blue octopus creature token onto the battlefield. So yes, you are wiping your own field. It is return all non-land permanents to their owner's hands. But if you pay the surge cost, which is cheaper than this, then yeah, you get an 8/8 onto the field, which is big. But you can only play the surge cost if you've cast another spell this turn, which is not too hard. I mean, you're going to have a lot of mana with... If you have any of these 2 cards out, you're going to have the mana for it. And it's only 5. But that is my Kenosos Priest of Thassa Sea Creature deck. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you build one. If you want me to go more in depth into this deck into another video, like every single specific card in here, I am going to swap out 1 or 2 of these cards. One of them I want to swap out for a Jace the Mind Sculptor, which I did get from Bloomburrow. So he will help this deck tremendously. And yeah, I have some other decks I would love to go over with you guys. Let me know if you liked this and want to go explore those ones as well.